Hi, I am Josh Fee, and I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I have worked at Asbury University for the last 5 years, and right now I serve as the director of the Adult Professional Studies program, which serves students in Wilmore, Kentucky, Orlando, Florida, and also students across the United States in our online programs. I would think it was when I was a teenager, and really a lot of it sprang out of my participation in competitive athletics, and really having some positive influences in my life, coaching-wise, and folks who really instilled, I think, in me a confidence that I can lead others, and that they really tried to draw out in me some of the strengths that I had. So I really think it was when I was a teenager, and I think too that was also brought out of my relationship with my father. And it wasn't until I was a teenager that I really started to grasp what made him an effective leader. And I started to see those authentic ways that he would inspire others, and sometimes make the tough decisions and do it with courage and integrity. And it's when I started to really process what he was doing that made him an effective leader. I think one of the things that they did is they had the confidence to put you in the tough situations, and sometimes to let you make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. And so I think that was one of the things. Two, I really think that they tried to stretch you to improve upon your weaknesses, and but they also really try to put you in a position to focus on your strengths. And so I think that's one of the things that they did.
Okay.
And I think too that it was also a matter of they made themselves trustworthy, and they emulated the kind of these coaches. They really, their lives were reflective of what they were trying to teach us, and so they walked with integrity, and they just demonstrated through their own lives that the kind of life that they wanted us to emulate. And I'll tell you too, regardless of whether I had any potential at all, they made me feel that way. And I think that's just one of the things that they saw in everybody, a great potential. I would tell a leader just to be yourself, to peel away all of the layers that we try to put on to please this person and that person, and to put on the show, to say the right things, and act with integrity, and focus on your strengths, and in areas where you're not strong, find other people to surround yourself with who are strong in those areas, and realize that it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're all human beings, and we're not going to do it perfect all the time. And a big part of that is just learning to own up to those when you do make them, and figure out a better way to do it the next time. I think, one, you have to be intentional about creating some space to dream and be creative. I think one of the things that I've struggled with is that you can get so overwhelmed by and bogged down with just the everyday minute tasks that you have to do, and they just build upon one another, and we get so caught up in those that we often don't take time to step away from that, to think holistically, to think about a preferred future, to really dream beyond what is right in front of us in the here and now to what could be. And I think that's one of the things that I have had to learn to do, is just to take time to get away from my job to figure out a better way to do my job. And I find that I'm in trouble a lot, and I think one of the reasons is I've really learned that if you're never in trouble, then you're probably not doing anything. And I think some people would describe me as somebody who tries to think outside of the box. But I think more importantly, I would hope that people would say that I'm doing it to serve other people. Unconventional, I like that term, especially when it benefits one of our customers. And I hope that others would describe my leadership style as relational. And I hope, I mean, I don't know if this is how others would describe me, but I hope that in what I do and what I say, I inspire others to a shared vision for what our programs, to learn how to practice distributive leadership, and not just passing on responsibilities, but not trying to do it all myself, and really seeing and utilizing and cultivating the strengths of the people around me. I don't do that well yet. And I think sometimes I don't do a good job of saying no right now. You know, there's a lot of things that you can take on because this person wants you to try this and this person wants you to do this, and hey, let's give this a shot. And I think sometimes I need to learn to say no. My wife tells me I need to say no, and I need to learn that. You know, the only way I'll be able to do some things well is to not do some things. When you see a life change, particularly in the professional context that we're in, when you see somebody else reach their goals, and that's the biggest part. It's for me, the most important thing about what I do is seeing that there's some kind of positive impact made in the world. And if nobody ever looked at me as a person who was deserving of credit, that would be fine with me. I would much rather be behind the scenes, pushing other people forward. I don't know. It's about other people. Great servant leaders are really great about making other people's great leaders, and putting other people in a position to be great leaders. Sometimes that means relinquishing control and power and letting others succeed, and then honoring and recognizing what they've done really well. I think that's a part of it. I think a big part of servant leadership is where your core values as a person align with the values of the people in the organizations in which you are providing leadership. And when they do, it's a much easier context to provide servant leadership, because you're willing to sacrifice of yourself and everything that you have for the cause of the organization and the people you're serving. When you don't, when those don't align, I think sometimes a servant leader has to be willing to walk away from that context, because core values as non-negotiables are something you just can't part with at the expense of justice and integrity. Kind of go together. There's a right way to do things. I don't always do that, but I sense that as leaders we ought to be pursuing that. Parker Palmer has a book called Let Your Life Speak, And I think that's one of my core values, that that your actions ought to be reflective of what is at your deepest core most meaningful to you. So those are a couple. I would say unconventional. I don't think I'm afraid ever to try something new, and if it does fail, I'm okay with taking the brunt of the blame for it. But I'm a big believer that, and we've been reading about this in our leadership class, that being creative is not about some special skill that you have, some innate inborn skill that some people have and some people don't, but it's about having a vision for yourself, striving to reach a potential future that you don't yet have right now, and it's an ongoing, everyday, regular part of your life. And so I think I'm unconventional in that way. I'm okay with stepping out of what's comfortable to see if there's a better way to do it. My dad was a great leader. I think presence is a word that would describe his leadership. Not only was he was always around when he needed to be for his work. Obviously, he made it a high priority in his life to excel at what he did. He was a school teacher for 25 years and also a principal for 9 years. And but there's another aspect of his presence. The teachers who served under him when he was a principal or alongside of him when he was a principal always recognized that he would stand for and with them, and that was an aspect of presence that he brought to it, and as a result, it drew a lot of respect from the teachers that he worked with. That's one. My youth pastor growing up, his name was Brewster McLeod, and I would say this is an important aspect of leadership. I think sense of humor is an important aspect of leadership, and one of the things that he was always really great about is he would be completely okay with making fun of himself if it meant making somebody else look better, and that's how he did it. He was so lighthearted that he would take the brunt of the joke so that he could push somebody else into the limelight. And
cool.
I think sometimes as leaders, it's okay to look like we have a chink in our armor.
How old are you?
30 years old.
You're so young to be a lead. And you've been doing this for how long?
5 years.
You've been the director for 5 years? So you started when you were 25?
Fear of failure. And also, well, at that point, I was just trying to make a name for myself. So it was really fear of not being able to prove that I was capable of leading.
That's a huge responsibility.
It's been a great learning. I think it has changed me because over the last 5 years, from this 25-year-old who was more concerned about gaining the acceptance of others, to hopefully now somebody who is doing what I'm doing for a purpose that's outside of myself. And the striving here was about me and about reaching a certain goal, and the striving here is about the goal. And eventually, if we reach the goal, it does benefit me, but it's about a purpose that's outside of me now.